Hi witchlings! Welcome back to my channel. It is me, your local chaotic witchshot, and today we are talking about spirits. Specifically, the care and keeping of spirits, approaching spirit work, understanding spirit work. I feel like I don't see a lot of information on the internet regarding spirits and spirit work. A lot of it is stuff like Ouija boards, communicating with them, etc. And although that's really interesting and important, a lot of people don't know what it takes to work with a spirit or even have a spirit around, and just to keep them happy. And so this is a really important topic for me. If you don't know, I'm a medium. I identify as a medium. There's a medium video a little while back, and I do take a lot of importance in the work I do with my spirits and how I take care of my spirits. There are, of course, different ways of working with spirits or different spirits that you would work with. We have what we would consider deities that we can consider spirits or entities. We have familiars. We have animal spirits, plant spirits. We have earthbound spirits or disembodied entities, which would be spirits attached to the physical realm. We have ancestors. We have saints. We have this whole thing of what spirits are. So the main things that I'm going to be touching on today is I'm going to be touching on plant spirits, animal spirits, because those are the two I primarily work with, as well as ancestors and just kind of corporeal earthbound spirits. I have a house spirit. He hangs around a lot. And that's what I'm going to be touching on today. I should also say that I am approaching things from a very animist point of view. If you are unfamiliar with what animism is talking about everything has a spirit. So for me, my plants are spirits. They are allies. They are entities in the same way that animals are. And so I approach things from a everything has a soul. Everything has a spirit to it. So I cater to that a lot in my practice. You also see that a lot in folk magic and folk practices. So I'm going to start off with talking about ancestors, and I will touch slightly on kind of reclaiming your heritage or how to even approach ancestor work. When approaching ancestor work, the main book that I recommend is this. This is Honoring Your Ancestors by Mallorie Vaudoise, and it probably is one of the best books I have seen for ancestor work. It is the spiritual nourishment and magical power of ancestor veneration. So this is really ancestral veneration and ancestor honoring. We talk about different kinds of ancestors because there are a lot. There are blood ancestors. There are lineage ancestors. There are affinity ancestors, saints, spirit guides, ghosts, and any related spirits like land spirits, house spirits, non-human ancestors. So while we're talking about spirits today, we can, in a way, see all of these spirits under the umbrella of ancestors, because when we go far enough back, we are connected to animals, we are connected to plants, and that kind of brings a connection to them. So with ancestors, I think the main thing to do is begin by setting up a space for them. Set up a space for your ancestors. Really the only thing you need is a white candle and a glass of water. My ancestral altar is behind me. That is, in essence, what you need. And if you are in the process of reclaiming your heritage, it is a process. You can't just walk into something and say, this is mine now. Especially if you weren't raised in the culture, you weren't raised in the country. If you're a part of, I'm Italian American. If you aren't part of the kind of practice, it's going to be more difficult to walk in. And I may do a whole other video on what I did and what I am doing to reclaim my heritage. It is a process, and I can't just walk in and say that this is mine now, because it's not yet. And I've been doing this for almost a year. I've been studying it, I've been working with my ancestors, I've been working to reclaim my heritage for almost a year, and I'm still not at the point where I am comfortable saying that I am an Italian folk practitioner. I study Italian folk practices. That's where I am now, is I'm learning, and I'm working to reclaim it, but I'm not quite at the point where I am in the culture enough and understand it enough for me to just openly declare that I'm an Italian folk witch. Or I'm a witch who does Italian folk magic. I'm still learning. So yeah, I recommend this book for ancestors. Ancestors are not going to be the primary source of my topic today, even though I kind of did a little ditty on it, but I figure people are going to think about ancestor work when they see this video, so I figured I'd throw it in there. I specifically think that everyone should cater and nourish a relationship with the land they live on. If you're on America, you're on stolen land, so there's an extra level of working through it there. There's an extra level of desettling and uncentering your narrative as someone whose land isn't theirs. It's, you know, belongs to someone else. If you're interested in reading about that or learning about that, I would try Braiding Sweetgrass. The book, Braiding Sweetgrass, I'm actually my friend's doing a book club on that, and I'm really excited to be a part of it. But it helps you understand animism, and especially animism in North America and indigenous spirituality in a way that, and colonization in a way that I think is really important for anyone who lives on colonized soil. So within that, catering and forming a relationship with the land is not only paying tribute to the land you are on and who it belongs to. So I'm on Lenape land. I try to donate to the Lenape people. I try to educate myself on the Lenape tribe and their traditions and their land, but also to be kind to the land. You can give offerings to the land. Another way to kind of help with that is basically learning from the land, learning from the original holders of the land, learning from indigenous people, reading indigenous authors, understanding the land as they understood it. To me, that is the biggest connection and the biggest way of forming a relationship with the earth you are on that you possibly can. Apart from that, which I think everyone should do, because I think that we as colonizers on colonized land, or settlers on colonized land, need to understand that this is not ours. And there is a way to pay tribute to something that is not ours without being disrespectful, without feeling like something is owed to us. Moving forward, also I'm going to list all the books down below because I feel like someone asked me to do that last time and I forgot, so I'm going to go through and list all these books. So I first start with the land. The ancestors, the land, and from there we move into the house, catering a relationship with the house and working with the house and kind of, you know, forming a relationship with, if there's usually there are house spirits, forming a relationship with the house spirit. House spirits are very particular. Some are tied to the land that the house is on, some are tied to the house itself. There's actually a really good book that I have as well on house spirits. The book I recommend on house spirits is The Tradition of Household Spirits, Ancestral Lore and Practices by Claude Lecoutreux. And it goes over basically a bunch of information from the medieval ages to now, spirits and the dead, all these things in Finland, all over Europe. It is more of a research-based text. It's not like practical, but it's really interesting. The other books I recommend are Braiding Sweetgrass and Demons and Spirits of the Land. When we talk about house spirits, we're talking about, like I said, not only spirits that may be attached to the house, but spirits that inhabit a house. I have a house spirit. His name is Edwin. I actually recommend talking to your house spirit, seeing if the house needs anything. If the spirit in your house is in a certain area, let's say it likes the fireplace, it likes the threshold, it likes the kitchen area, you can actually leave offerings for it in those areas. You can set up a little space for them. Some people like to use kind of a little talisman to represent them. I actually have a crystal for my house spirit that is in a jar, a little spirit house basically, filled with a bunch of things that my house spirit likes. And many spirits are different. Some spirits really like certain types of offerings. Some spirits don't like any offerings. Some spirits want to be left alone. Some spirits really like working with you. If you are planning to work with spirits and you want to approach spirit work, like I said, I recommend ancestor work, connecting with the land, or just the land if you don't want to do ancestor work, and then moving in to working with house spirits, tree spirits, plant spirits, animal spirits. The reason I say this is because when you are working with these spirits, whether they're animal or plant, you are giving them things, and they are a gift and you are working with them. There's a lot that kind of goes into that, in the same way that you would kind of work with a deity. It may not be as intense, but there is a lot there. The specific plant allies that I really align myself with and work with are rosemary and rue. So along with rosemary and rue, I also have this. This is my resurrection plant, or my Rose of Jericho plant. Her name is Ro. And this is a very specific plant that I felt pulled to for a very long time, but when I do workings with her, I am working with the spirit of this plant, whose name is Ro. The plant is Ro. If you want to start working with plant allies, I always recommend meditating with your plants. So if you have something like this, you can sit with it in your lap, close your eyes, breathe, and just connect with it. Working with plant spirits also means understanding what they have to teach us, what they bring, what is associated with them. This specific plant is used in prosperity workings, in protection workings. It's really good for bringing in money. And we can look at the way plants behave to help understand kind of what they will give us. So with this Rose of Jericho, it is a tumbleweed / flower. What it'll do is it'll close completely up. You can see the bottom's brown, close completely up, and roll around in the desert like a little tumbleweed. And when it finds a water source, it connects with it and completely opens, and this is what it looks like. And then when that water source dries up, it closes again and rolls away. So what can we learn from this specific plant and this plant ally? We can look at it and say, wow, it is really resourceful. It's resourceful, it's sturdy, it's sustainable, it's this wonderful, beautiful plant that has survived so many things. It survives despite so many things, and I think that is something to take away from. That's something to work with. The other plants that I have in my spaces are my spider plant, my snake plant, my aloe vera, and I have a little bamboo shoot. I don't work as much with my spider plant and my snake plant and my aloe vera plant just because they're plant wards, so I use them for protective purposes, but when I was creating the wards for them, I was connecting with them. I was working with them. And I think that, especially when I think that connecting with plants and working with our plant allies is really important. It's another form of ancestor work or spirit work. The other thing I do is I work with animals, animal spirits. The specific animal spirits that I work with, or I work with the most, is the fox. And I actually have this fox skull that was just gifted to me recently. So this is the skull of a red fox, Vulpes vulpes. I got this not only as kind of a way for me to connect with this spirit more, but my familiar presents as a fox spirit. The fox has been an amazing animal for me. It's shown up to me since I was 16 to bring me messages. It's protected me, it's watched over me. My familiar Vulpes, like the Vulpes vulpes, the Latin name for the red fox, shows up either in physical or spiritual form as a fox. My familiar has come to me in forms of foxes showing up in my path. It has come to me in, he has come to me in forms of like a spirit fox, or like in a fox form. And so this basically is to help me connect with not only my familiar more, but to connect with the spirit of the fox as well, because they're an incredibly important animal for me, and they're an animal that I have resonated with and connected with, and I have felt the protection of for many, many years. So when we work with spirits of animals, we look at their nature. How do they behave? What can they teach us? The fox is a trickster. Clever, resourceful, problem solving. These are all things that we know when we look at the spirit of the fox. You can learn about different folklores as well. Japanese folklore, the kitsune are known as trickster spirits. We have different folklore in North America, in Europe, etc. And you can work within this paradigm of folklore or understand the folklore and still kind of make your own connections with the animal. A few other spirits I work with are the bison. The bison I meditate with and work with for grounding, for stability, for understanding the sturdiness and the importance of my herd. I also work with the deer. I have a lot of deer antlers. I have a deer thigh bone. Part of this is because of my association with a horned god, the Arabian horned god, and part of this is also because deer have always shown up to me. Deer have taught me many things, and the deer spirit is something that I am still working with. The other spirit I work with is the spirit of a snake. Snake spirit, super interesting to work with. Very much different than I think the rest of the animals. And you may wonder, how do you work with all these spirits, Frankie? In my experience, I have the animal show up to me physically first, especially with the fox. Obviously the bison did not do that because I am in the suburbs. But the deer will show up to me, the rabbit will show up to me, the snake will show up to me, and when they show up to me in physical form, or they start presenting kind of parts of themselves in physical form, I then kind of am pulled to working with them as a spirit and what they can teach me. The fox by far is the one that I work with the most, just because of my familiar, and also because it has been one of the biggest kind of parts of my life. So when you're working with these spirits and you're asking them to help you with things or teach you or guide you, there is not just a kind of asking for things from them. There's you know, a same kind of thing you would do with deities. You give them offerings, you pay respects to them, you honor them in certain ways. I have honored my familiar and the fox spirit with this particular skull, but also I honor them by, I give them water, I give them smoke offerings, I will give them offerings of coffee if they want it. I try to find things that I feel like the spirit will like, or I ask the spirit, I say, what would you like? They tell me and I get it for them. It's very similar to a house spirit. The house spirit is going to tell me what he wants and what he's interested in offering wise. The same thing with my ancestors. They let me know what they want. For them, it's mostly coffee, wine, rosemary smoke, and water. Spirit work is something that you will see in a lot of folk practices. You will see a lot of people work with the spirits of the land. Another book that's really interesting is Traditional Witchcraft, a Cornish Book of Ways by Gemma. If you want to understand spirit work and how people have worked with spirits, not only research the spirits of your area, the spirits of your land, the spirits that you and your ancestors connect with, but also research how people in different areas work with spirits. How do people in Cornwall work with spirits? How do people in Italy work with spirits? How do people in America work with spirits? By studying these things, you can slowly implement spirit work into your practice. The other thing is, I think a lot of people just don't know what to do when a spirit's in the house. So the first thing I do is ask what it wants. And if this random spirit comes into my space, it doesn't have any harm or it doesn't give me harmful intent, I say, hey, is there something you want? Can I provide you with something? Can I give you something? Sometimes spirits just want to be around a certain area that they like. So if a spirit wanders into my space and decides to stay, I have to set boundaries with it. I say, okay, well, these are the rules of the house. Do you accept? They either say yes or no. If they say no, I banish them. Otherwise, they can stay. And from there, if they become a protective spirit of the house, if they help me with things, if I employ them for things, there is a give and take relationship. I give them offerings. I honor them. I respect them. And we move forward from there. And you know, I think spirit work, especially understanding that if you're an animist, if there's a spirit in everything, is really important. It's something that's really helped me in my craft, and I'm still working to connect with on a daily basis. I'm still working to give my spirits the offerings they deserve and the time they deserve. I'm still working to connect with my ancestors on a greater level. There are so many aspects to this that are really amazing and really imperative, and I think that it's a wonderful thing to bring into your practice if you're interested in it. I have the list of books that I recommended for spirit work that I will put in the kind of bio. None of it is a how to do this and how to do that. It's to understand what spirits are, how people worked with them throughout the ages, and from there you kind of look into, how can I work with them? How can I honor the spirits in my life? My ancestors, my saints, my house spirits, my land spirits, and you go from there. But yeah, if you have any questions or you want me to elaborate on more about care and keeping of spirits or different aspects of this video, please leave a little comment. Let me know. If you stay through the whole video, you know I love you. If you want to like, subscribe, hit the bell on, totally okay, but you don't